Their new CD came out today. It's called Love Drunk. Here with the song of the same name, Boys Like Girls.
So, my friends, on September 8th of 2009, a solid 3 whole years since their debut, Boys Like Girls released their much-anticipated second album entitled Love Drunk through Columbia Records. And bro, this record is funny. So, here's the thing about Boys Like Girls, right? Which I actually really admire and think is cool and also kind of funny. So, back in the decade of the 2000s, right, if you were a band who came out of the punk rock or emo or underground music world, or coming out of playing Warped Tour or what have you, the word sellout was like the big diss aimed at bands who were believed to have abandoned their punk rock roots and, started writing radio-friendly material just to sell records and whatnot. Ooh, selling records, can't do that. No punk cred there. Following hip musical trends in the name of staying current and making a buck and so forth. That meant that you were a sellout. Fans of underground music and punk rock music hurled the dirty word sellout at bands as if it were some kind of slur, and as if the bands themselves, who just happened to write a hit song or get a little bigger than Warped Tour, were really awful people for trying to make a bigger name for themselves or, gain monetary success with their music. And many of these bands who were being called sellouts, would kind of often be like, maybe offended by the term and would maybe do things to try to prove that they've still got their punk rock cred and that they're not sellouts just because they've gained success in the mainstream. Now, the whole sellout conversation is ultimately a really whole other, mind-numbingly stupid can of worms. It doesn't matter, who cares? But it was a big deal in the 2000s, and what I really appreciate about Boys Like Girls during this era is that they really shamelessly leaned into the whole major label radio pop rock act thing. They really weren't concerned with, they weren't trying to prove that they still had punk rock cred or that they ever even had any punk rock cred in the first place. You couldn't call them sellouts because it wouldn't exactly land as an insult to them, because they were they were explicitly going for hits on the radio. They were like, fuck it, why not? They were unapologetically a mainstream radio pop rock act at this point with Love Drunk. They were going for big singles. They were going for radio. And why do I think that that was a cool move for this band? Well, in a strange way, I take it as somewhat of a cool counterintuitive statement from the band. Like I said, in an era where sellout was this big curse word from fans and something you presumably didn't want to be if you were a band coming from the underground, emo punk rock world, I see Boys Like Girls' direction as them saying, hey, the term sellout is fucking stupid. It shouldn't be uncool or frowned upon to try to make a little bit of money off your music or try and write hit songs or try to be on the radio. If you have dreams and aspirations of being a big artist and you want to, write some pop hits, go for it. Own it. Don't act like it's this negative thing just because you come from an underground punk rock background or whatever. Music is music is music. Good music is good music. Pop music isn't bad. That's what I've always gathered as being Boys Like Girls' message during this time, and to me, it's ironically a pretty punk rock statement in and of itself. I don't know. Anyways, I'm getting off subject here. I don't know if that's just kind of, my perception of it. This second Boys Like Girls record, Love Drunk, as you've probably gathered, yes, it's a total mainstream pop rock extravaganza. Musically, it still has elements of their first record. There's still a little bit of an All-American Rejects thing going on here, but overall, Love Drunk is more of I don't know. It's like if the Jonas Brothers had a baby with Bon Jovi or something. There's a lot more hints of like electro-tinged Radio Disney tween pop on this album, and also hints of straight up 80s arena pop rock.
Come on, sing it up when you're out the door. Whoa, yeah.
Much like the first record, the singles, I would say, are definitely the strongest tracks on the album, but some deeper cuts I enjoy are stuff like the song Real Thing, which is super 80s pop and kind of reminds me of the song Your Love by The Outfield.
Jamie's in love. She's got the summer blowing through her hair.
The shot heard around the world is also a standout, and my favorite song on the record is probably She's Got a Boyfriend Now. I don't know, something about that one just hits the spot. The song Contagious definitely sounds the most like a callback to their first record, but it kind of sounds like a remake of the song Head Over Heels or something. They have a lot, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, the first single, as well as the title track on this album, Love Drunk, was a massive hit, hitting number 22 on the Billboard Hot 100 before eventually becoming a platinum single. The next single, believe it or not, actually ended up becoming, technically, numerically speaking, their biggest hit overall. The song being Two is Better Than One, a country-tinged acoustic ballad featuring Taylor Swift, who, you know, had just released her breakout album, Fearless, a year prior. This song hit number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100, their highest chart placement overall, and also eventually went platinum. Like I was saying in the beginning of the video, there were also rumors that Martin Johnson and Taylor Swift briefly dated around this time too. What? Crazy. Rumors. You know, I thought for a long time, I thought it was like a certified fact that they dated, but I started looking into it while I was making this video, and it's like not totally confirmed, but it, you know, it's in some websites it says they did, and some websites it says they were just rumored. I don't know. I can't get a definite answer, but you know, they were affiliated. And yeah, either way, overall, the Love Drunk era was definitely a crazy time for Boys Like Girls. This was their real mainstream peak, you know. They were freaking huge. They were Motley Crue. They were killing it.
What's happening, boys? It's crazy, isn't it?
That's crazy.
It's wild.
What's up, guys?
Congratulations on the new album. I really dig it.
Thank
I
you so
really
much.
dig
Thank
it. Now, was it easier this time around or harder this time around?
So much harder.
Yeah?
Dude, so much harder.
Really?
You have no idea, yeah. I mean, it wasn't necessarily like the pressure of the industry. We love you too. It wasn't like the pressure of the industry or record sales or anything like that. We
Yeah.
don't care about that stuff, you know,
Yeah.
like that's not a big deal. It's like, you know, we wanted to create music that was, you know, we're four best friends, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, we wanted to elevate it, take it to the next level, do something different and change it and, you know, change music a little bit and change it up. And for us, it was really difficult. I mean, for me, I was like, you know, I would hide in bed some days for like, you know, 48 hours, just scared to go in the studio.
Yeah.
Once we hit upon it and we just started taking chances, it got so much fun, and we just took as many chances as we could, man, and we just we rocked it out.
Now that we're done, it's the best feeling ever, though.
Yeah? It's good to
the
have it out?
Best thing
Playing
ever.
the new songs live is so fun.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Were you it's so loud.
They were living the dream with non-stop success up until the third single from Love Drunk, entitled Heart, Heart, Heartbreak, was released in early 2010, and pretty much, long story short, the single flopped. It failed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100, it never went gold, and it was a severe drop-off from the continuous success of pretty much every single they had put out previously. The lack of success from the single Heart, Heart, Heartbreak apparently really kind of affected the band and caused them to scrap a third record that they had written, and they eventually went on break for a little while. An article from Billboard magazine magazine at the time, which features some quotes from Martin Johnson, provides a little more context. When the band came off the road in support of Love Drunk, which bowed at number 8 on the Billboard 200, there was a sense of urgency to return to the studio, prompted in part by the response to third single Heart, Heart, Heartbreak. Quote, "We went into the studio a little discouraged by our most recent single," Martin Johnson says over the phone. "That was that wake-up call moment about how much music is changing. That thing we clung onto that was so relevant in 2005 when we became a band, up until 2010 when we finally went off the road from Love Drunk, had kind of died. It was almost like the radio wanted a remixed version of the song rather than the actual song." Boys Like Girls completed an entire album in the first half of 2010, only to realize it was disingenuous to the band. In the end, the group tossed the project and decided to take a break for a little while. It was this angry, contrived, electronic pop hybrid, and it didn't really feel like Boys Like Girls, Johnson says. It didn't feel like we were being honest to ourselves. The other band members, Paul DiGiovanni, Morgan Dorr, and John Keefe, went home to Boston while Johnson spent time in Nashville writing with other musicians and accumulating demos that didn't have a specific purpose. So, after a little hiatus period throughout the end of 2010 into 2011, Boys Like Girls regrouped in late 2011 and ended up turning the country-tinged songs, which Martin Johnson was working on in Nashville, into the third Boys Like Girls record, for better or for worse. So, that very same Billboard article, which I was just reading from, explains it a little further. Quote, "In the fall of 2011, he, Martin Johnson, began to realize that songwriting wasn't quite the same without the band, and in October, the members gathered at Johnson's LA home to begin transforming his demos into their third album, Crazy World. Quote, "We threw out the idea of having to cater to modern music," Johnson says. "What made the last record, the one that never came out, feel not right for Boys Like Girls is that we felt this massive pressure as a band that lived by the ups and downs of top 40 success. We threw out any preconceived notion that that was an issue. It was freeing. For Columbia, it's been important to reimagine Boys Like Girls with its new sound, which embraces pop rock and country. It was then, on December 11th of 2012, when Boys Like Girls released what I would consider to be probably one of the worst albums ever made, Crazy World, a left turn for the band where they went full-on pop country cheese."
It's crazy, but it's true. Come on, let's go. Yo. You never get a second chance at the first time. We will never be 18 again.
Now, you know, I do like me some pop country from time to time, but this release just couldn't be more contrived and weak and weird coming from the Boston-based Boys Like Girls. And most of the songs sound like Target, like this company Target paid Boys Like Girls to write some music for their commercials or something. Now look, I'm aware that it might sound a little hypocritical of me since I praised Boys Like Girls earlier in this video for unapologetically leaning into their mainstream radio bag in an era where sellout was such a dirty word, you know, and now I'm like, But here on Crazy World, I mean, they just went a little too far, okay? And it's not because the album is commercial, like literally a Target commercial, but these songs, man, my God, it just doesn't get cornier than this album. I mean, it's straight up bad. Like, if you listen to it if you don't believe me. Like, come on.
You smell that? Smells like Boys Like Girls is back.
I would like to quote a hilarious and spot-on review of this record, which Scott Heisel wrote for Alternative Press, which pretty much sums up my thoughts on it. Quote, Boys Like Girls showed up in 2005 with a major label deal in hand, a debut album loaded with co-writes, and a sound best described as holy shit, how are the All-American Rejects not suing these jokers for copyright infringement yet? Of course, the contemporary punk scene has taken a drastic swerve toward all things heavy, leaving little room for the type of fun-loving, lyrically empty emo pop Boys Like Girls were plying. Cue the reinvention. After bassist Brian Donahue departed to focus on his authentic country rock act, The Tower and the Fool, the rest of the band decided to morph themselves into a country band of a much different variety. The songs on Crazy World are the type of vapid, slick pop country groups like Rascal Flatts and Train have made bank on. Singer Martin Johnson has worked a Nashville twang into his previously accent-free voice, throwing in plenty of insincere references to things that don't actually exist in his world. The old diner in The First Time, My 9 to 5 and Shoot. And don't forget the power ballad Be Your Everything, complete with that oh-so emotionally manipulative key change. Crazy World is as phony as they come.
You smell that? Smells like Boys Like Girls is back.
And surprise, surprise, Crazy World totally bombed commercially, at least compared to their previous huge successes. It debuted at number 134 on the Billboard 200, and all of its singles failed to chart. Sorry, Boys Like Girls. And, Boys Like Girls, they unsurprisingly kind of went away after that. Their guitarist Paul DiGiovanni writes and produces for big country artists now. He's apparently pretty successful doing that. And Martin Johnson also works as a pretty successful songwriter as well. He's worked with chart toppers such as Avril Lavigne, Daughtry, Gavin DeGraw, Elle King, and more. Most recently, he has a new music project of his own called The Night Game. And it's, it's very, very 80s sounding. It's pretty cool.
Far away, you got me standing in the outfield.
Boys Like Girls have reunited for some reunion shows in recent years as well, and they've discussed making new Boys Like Girls music as a definite possibility, but nothing has come to fruition quite yet. And at this point in 2022, the first Boys Like Girls album remains certainly a classic when looking back on the era of 2000s emo pop rock. And, they made quite an impact. And that was the story of Boys Like Girls, 100% the last great American rock band, if you ask me. Thank you all for watching today's video. It's been your man, the Cozy Representative. I hope you have a good one. You'll always be my thunder, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time here on the Cozy Representative for more stories of artists from the years of the 2000s, the ups and the downs and everything in between. Thank you guys so much, and have a good night. Peace out.